This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
3 of President Donald Trump's top aides will face their Chinese counterparts in London on Monday for talks to resolve a trade dispute between the world's two largest economies that has kept global markets on edge. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer will represent Washington in the talks, said Trump, who announced the talks in a post on his Truth Social platform but provided no more details. It was not immediately clear who would represent China. The Chinese embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to a request for comment.
Rising OPEC Plus supplies and new streams of oil coming online globally are increasing options for European and Asian refiners and weighing on export demand for light sweet U.S. crude, contributing to lower prices in the country's main oil-producing regions. The U.S., the world's largest crude producer, is facing increasing competition as the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies pump more oil in a bid to regain market share and punish members that overproduce. Since April, OPEC Plus countries including Saudi Arabia and Russia have made or announced increases totaling 1.37 million barrels per day, or 62% of the 2.2 million barrels of oil per day they aim to add back to the market.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
The U.S. in recent days suspended licenses for nuclear equipment suppliers to sell to China's power plants, according to 4 people familiar with the matter, as the two countries engage in a damaging trade war. The suspensions were issued by the U.S. Department of Commerce, the people said, and affect export licenses for parts and equipment used with nuclear power plants. Nuclear equipment suppliers are among a wide range of companies whose sales have been restricted over the past 2 weeks as the U.S.-China trade war shifted from negotiating tariffs to throttling each other's supply chains. It is unclear whether a Thursday call between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping would affect the suspensions.
There are some tentative early signs that weak thermal coal prices are starting to boost import demand among Asia's heavyweight buyers China and India. Asia's seaborne imports of the fuel used mainly to generate electricity rose to a 5-month high of 74.12 million metric tons in May, according to data compiled by commodity analysts Kepler. This was up from 68.56 million tons in April, although it was still below the 78.30 million tons from May 2024. For the first 5 months of the year, Asia's imports of seaborne thermal coal were 346.96 million tons, down 7.0% from the same period in 2024. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. China said on Saturday it was willing to accelerate the examination and approval of rare earth exports to European Union firms. A statement on the Commerce Ministry's website also said it plans to issue a final announcement on its trade investigation of brandy imports from the EU on July 5, saying that the two sides were discussing a price pledge.
Silver has soared to the key milestone of $35 per ounce, reaching its highest level in more than 13 years, propelled by robust industrial demand and ongoing supply deficits, analysts said. Spot silver rose 2.5% to $35.82 per ounce as of 1347 GMT, having touched its highest level since February 2012 at $36.08. We have been expecting silver to close its performance gap with gold for some time. The metal has firm fundamentals, including being in a supply deficit and industrial demand being robust, said Nitesh Shah, commodities strategist at WisdomTree.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Global food commodity prices declined in May, driven by marked drops in cereal, sugar, and vegetable oil prices, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said on Friday. The FAO Food Price Index, which tracks monthly changes in a basket of internationally traded food commodities, averaged 127.7 points in May, reflecting a 0.8% decrease from the April figure. The May reading was up 6% from a year earlier but over 20% below a March 2022 peak following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine that started a devastating war between two of the world's leading grains producers. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.